Hello everyone, welcome to my new house in Normandy, and more importantly, at least for the purposes of this channel, welcome to my new car. This is a 2013 Volkswagen Cross Up. It has a 1 liter 75 horsepower engine, and it is possibly the cutest car I've ever owned, and also incredibly the first car I've ever owned with tinted rear windows. That's pretty much what sets it apart from the rest of the cars I've owned. So I have sold the Vel Satis. I have bought this instead. I'll explain the reasons why. The main reasons were fuel consumption and reliability, but I'll get more into details once we get inside. I won't stay outside too much because it is quite windy, so I'm not sure you can hear me properly, and it is also extremely chilly, so I'm kind of wanting to get inside. So let me go around the up. You can see this is the Cross Up, as I said. It has a 26 millimeter lift from the normal up. It also has this black plastic cladding around the wheel archers right here, and also this black little bar at the bottom of the doors. It has silver bumpers, silver mirrors, silver roof bars. It also has a silver bumper in the rear, and it has these 16-inch wheels. So 16 inches might seem like a lot on an up, and that's because it is. Because the Vel Satis or the Lexus that I had both had 17-inch wheels. So yeah, this is quite a big wheel for a really small car, but I think it makes it look really good. I think it is extremely cute. I think it is extremely good looking, especially in this red paint, and you'll see it carries on in the interior. I never thought I'd like red paint, but I really like it on this one. And as I said, it has tinted windows. I'm not sure if this was a Cross Up or if this was just an option that was ticked by the previous owner, but it does look really good, and it looks a little off-roady, I think. Now, obviously, it's not a G-Wagon, but it does look pretty good. I like it. So this is the normal Volkswagen key. It's the regular key that every Volkswagen from this area had. Let's open it up, and then let's go see the trunk. So in order to open the trunk, you have two methods. The first one is using the key. If the car is locked, let's lock it. You can open the trunk by pressing and holding the trunk button on the key, and then you can open it here, have access to the trunk, and then once you close it, the car locks again. The other method, obviously, is to have the car unlocked, and then you can just directly press this button, and that works perfectly. And then when you open it, you have access to a pretty good trunk. You have, I think, space for 3 airplane-sized suitcases. You can see my overnight bag fits in there quite nicely. And then you have a few amenities like these little shopping bag hooks here and there. You have this cargo cover that locks in place instead of being tied to the tailgate, which I think is an okay idea. I would have preferred it if it was tied to the tailgate, but I'll take that as a second option. And then you also have underneath here a false floor that you can rise up here in order to get a flat load bay with the seats down. I'm not going to do it because there's my bag, and also underneath is disgusting. Those are the carpets, the front carpets that I've replaced for rubber ones for the winter, because you can see it's quite muddy here. And so there's the trunk. Now let me show you the back seats. So as you can see, this car has rear doors, which wasn't the case for every up, but I think it was the case for every Cross Up. So let's get into the back. There we go. As you can see, we have a red interior as well, a red upholstery here in the back. You obviously can fold down the rear seats. Let me take down the headrests. There you go. And then you can fold down the seats. With the false floor in place, you have a flat floor. So that's perfect for loading. And then, as you can see, the seat belts do snag here, but because they don't have a little runner, but it's fine. I can deal with that. And then you have the headrests. You have 2 headrests in the back because you only have 4 seats in this car. Sorry, there we go. So just 2 seat belts here, 2 seats, 2 headrests, and only 2 places for 2 people. So you also have puppy outy windows. There you go. At least they have opening windows, which isn't the case for every small car, but I would have preferred roll down windows. But that's all you can ask from a small car. And then, as you can see, this is behind my driving position, so I obviously have very little space. I'm wedged into the seat, but behind the passenger isn't too bad. I'm 1.86 meters tall, so I'm quite tall, and you can see I drive really laid back, so it's not too bad for a small car, especially of this size. I think it is quite a good space, and I have a little bit of headroom. Hi. And there you go. So in the back you have grab handles, you have little storage spaces, and then the handle. I think I could probably fit here for a few little short trips, but not much more. You do have a cup holder, one for both passengers, and you also have just one for the front passengers. So I use this one as my passenger cup holder. This is the door. You have the speaker in the back. And there you go. That's the seat. That's the rear seat. Now let's hop into the front. This is the front seat. You can see the rubber mats I put. And then I'll show you all the interior creature comforts and little options that were ticked. Not many in this car because it is a very small car, and so it's optioned like one, but you know, there are a few essentials, and that's pretty good. So let's get inside, close the door and start the engine. To start the engine, you unfold the key, and then you just turn it in the ignition. The ignition turns on. The car warns me that it's just 3.5 degrees because they might be ice on the road. And then the LEDs start to flicker, but that's just because of the camera, not because of the LEDs. It doesn't flicker in real life, obviously. So let's start on the left. You have a pretty big pocket here in the door. You have the driver's side window control. It's not automatic, and you only have the driver's side on this side because passenger side window is only controlled by this switch on the passenger side. And then you have the central locking, you have the mirror control and the heated mirrors. You can see the little logo there. And then you have the headlight control, so parking lights, headlights, fog front and fog rear, which turns on here. And then you have the headlight adjuster. Right here you have the cruise control commands. So on, cancel, resume and set, and then plus and minus as well. And then you have the high beams. You have the high beam fully on, and then the turn signals. So I mentioned this was the first car I had with tinted windows. It's also the first car I've ever had that had just one touch, three signals. So that's the first one I've ever had, because the Yaris didn't have it, the Lexus didn't, the Vel Satis was too old. And so this is the first car I've ever had, and it is super, super nice to have. On this side, you've got the windshield wipers, and then you've got the controls for the trip computer. So that shows up in here. So you've got the speed, you've got the average speed, the mileage since the last reset, you've got the range, you've got the average fuel consumption. You can see it is literally a third or even a quarter of what the Vel Satis was. And then you've got the instant fuel consumption. I'm not moving, so it's saying by every hour. This is the time since I left, since I last reset, the temperature, the engine temperature, and the time, and then that's the speed limiter. And we're back to the normal speed, so that's the instant speed. I'd like to have it like this. So this car has 105,000, almost 106,000 kilometers. I bought it mid-September, and it had 87,000 kilometers. So you can see how much I've driven in it, and I can tell you it is extremely comfortable. I like driving in it. I like doing road trips in it, and I drive a lot of Paris to Normandy to come to this house, so that's where all those kilometers have been. It's just 200 kilometers, but there and back a few times a month, and it starts to add up really quick. This is the center control stack, so you've got everything for the air conditioning. So this is one of the essential options that I need in a car. Another one is these heated seats. This is really nice to have in the winter, and they are extremely warm. And then you've got the radio. So you've got quite a few presets, and then another set of presets here. And then you've got AM, FM, obviously. And if you want, you have CD, you have auxiliary, and you have the nav. So that's the Bluetooth audio, which is coupled with this navigation system. Let's turn this off. Then the hazard lights, and then the passenger airbag warning when it's turned off. Here you have a cup holder. You have the automatic emergency braking system off switch. So if I press it, it will warn me here. There you go. You can see a test of that on my channel. I've tested it against some cardboard boxes. I'm thankfully never had to test it in real life, although it does sometimes set off unintentionally, like when I'm coming to a toll booth or something, but it's better to have it and use it and never use it than the opposite, than to need it and never have it. This is a cup holder. This is the wiring for my dash cam, which I've hidden in there and in the pillar, and it comes to here. And then this is just a little thing where I put my wallet. This is the glove box. It's quite large and it has a few things for cards and coins and pens that I use for mints, but whatever. And then this is another big pocket in the passenger side. You've got the speaker for the stereo and the passenger window control. As you can see, this is a manual gearbox. It's the first manual car I've had since the old Saab that I had a few years ago. And it is extremely nice. This is a really good little gearbox. It's short throw, well, shortish, and it's really nice to use actually, and I really like it. The only thing is that it's a 5-speed, which, you know, it feels a bit old-fashioned to me, and I would like a 6-speed, but for 75 horsepower, you can't really hope for more. And then up here you have the door mirror, which is just a manual on-off for the night mode, and then you have the lights that I switched for an LED, and it looks pretty good. And then the mirrors, you've got a mirror here, the sun visors, sorry, just a mirror there. And then you just have one grab handle for the front passenger, and the rear passenger doesn't have it, although they do have these little hooks, but really not enough to hold on in an emergency. So that's the front, and then I'll show you the sat nav. So I have taken off my glove for this one, so let me show you the sat nav. This is the main menu basically, so you've got vehicle info, media, navigation, and phone. If you click for more, you only have the user manual, I think, for the information system, for the navigation system, but that's it. If you click on vehicle, you have the board computer, so that's the fuel consumption, the range, etc., etc. Then you also have the Think Blue Trainer. Oh, okay. So it's saying that I can't use it because it can only be used in the vehicle that this was meant for, and this is a new satellite navigation that I bought because the one that was sold with the car didn't have any Bluetooth microphone. The microphone wasn't working, so I decided to switch it out for another one that I bought online, and it works so much better. And it's actually a better system. I don't know if they did different systems, but surely they did. Or the other one was one from a Skoda or from a Seat, which were the same base cars. But anyway, this works much better. But it's saying I can't have the Think Blue Trainer, which is possibly the most useless thing of the entire system. So I'm fine with that. And then if you get in there, you've got the ref counter, which you also have in the instrument cluster, but it's a fun little addition. And then the thermometer for the outside. You can switch it just for the thermometer for the engine, but that's it. And then you don't have a lot of choice. And if I press the gas, you can see, oh, it has a soft limiter. I didn't know that, but anyway, that's everything it does. So not very interesting, and I don't use it very often. What I do use very often is the radio, and then you've got the CD and MP3 Bluetooth connector system, and then you can put an SD card in and have some images in there that show up. Never done that. And then this is in the navigation system, so this is just the map, but you can enter a new destination, you can enter the address, the point of interests, the coordinate, the geographical coordinates, and then you can enter some favorites and some recent destinations, and then you just have a home button, and you also have a voice command button that works quite well.
Adresse utile à proximité ou mes destinations.
Adresse utile à proximité.
La catégorie s'il vous plaît.
Restaurant.
Restaurant. Sélectionnez votre
You know, it's not too crazy, but it's definitely not Siri or a Google Assistant, but it definitely works pretty well, and especially for the addresses as well. Let's try this.
Adresse utile à proximité ou mes destinations.
Adresse.
La localité s'il vous plaît.
Avignon.
La rue s'il vous plaît.
Rue Guillaume Puy.
Le numéro d'habitation, s'il
and
vous
then
plaît.
46.
Est-ce que Avignon 46, rue Guillaume-Puy est correct?
Oui. So you see, it's
La
quite good.
navigation est démarrée.
It's not amazing, but it's quite good, and it works quite well, especially when you're driving, so you don't have to type on this tiny screen. I think it's a pretty good addition. It doesn't work well every time. This time is really simple for her because she can hear me clearly, and this is just a random address, by the way.
Souhaitez-vous démarrer la navigation?
Oui. And then you see it just asked me if I wanted to start the navigation, and then there we go. It's just written there that we can start the navigation, so that's pretty good. And then in other functions, you've got the settings, and then you can just put the card, which is what I do most of the time. I mean the map, sorry, which is what I do most of the time. And then after that, you've got the phone. In here you also have voice command for the phone number, and then you've got the regular phone keyboard, although it's not regular, and then you've got the little call list, so you can call the other contacts. So there we go. That's the system that I put, and let's show you the engine now. Now, actually, before I show you the engine, let me turn it off, and I'll tell you why I sold the Vel Satis, because I think that's quite an interesting story. It was very expected for everybody, but the change from Vel Satis to the Up was a bit of a crazy change. So I feel I need to explain it. Basically, I sold the Vel Satis for two main reasons. First of all, it was terrible on fuel. It had horrible fuel consumption, and the best I ever managed was around 10 or 11 liters per 100 kilometers, which is just awful. And it didn't feel right to me, because I know the engine was old, but I had the Lexus GS before that, and that had a 3-liter V6 as well. So it was a newer conception, but you know, it did maybe 7 or 8 liters per 100 kilometers when I was on the highway. The Vel Satis, the best one, was 10 or 11. And so it was just horrible on fuel. And it had an 85-liter fuel tank, which means that since I bought it basically a week or 2 weeks before the start of the war in Ukraine, the fuel prices just started to get crazy exactly at the moment where I bought it. So I went from a highly efficient hybrid Yaris to a terrible on fuel, huge car that just had an enormous tank. So basically every time I had to fill up the tank, I paid 150 or 160 euros, and that was just crazy. It was just way too much. So that was one of the reasons. I decided to sort of deal with it, and I did for a few months, but when it came time to change it for the other reason, which I will now list, it just made sense to get something much more fuel efficient. The other reason was unreliability. So it wasn't terrible, and it wasn't terribly unreliable, but it was just as unreliable as a 200,000 kilometer French 2007 car should be. So, you know, the things that broke were normal. Basically, there were a few things wrong with the steering when I bought it, so I had to have that fixed, and then the radiator broke, and then the alternator broke. The air conditioning didn't work properly, so I had to keep fixing it. And you know, there are things that go wrong on cars at this age, so I wasn't mad at it, but basically the radiator and the alternator both left us stranded. Not stranded, but I could still drive it to park it up, but pretty much stranded. And it was sort of difficult to justify having a car that left us stranded a couple of times and also was terrible on fuel, even though it was amazingly powerful and comfortable and spacious. But you know, it just didn't really make any sense, and especially living in Paris for as long as I do. And it just made sense to get a better car, and not a better car, but like a smaller and more fuel efficient car. So that's where the Up comes in. Obviously, you can see on my channel that I've already done a review of an Up, and that's my dad's car. It's the black little normal Up. It's not the cross Up, it's the black one. And it's a great car, and he's had it for 10 years now, and he really, really likes it. And my brother enjoys it a lot, and he drives around a lot. And this car has more than, I think, 120,000 kilometers. And, you know, it's driven a lot, and it's so comfortable, and it's so nice to drive, even on highways and on big roads. So I thought I like the Up. I've always liked it. I don't want to go back to a Toyota or something because I want something with a bit more personality. And I don't think I'll ever get bored of this one, although I will, but you know, this one just has more of a personality. It has everything I need, so cruise control and Bluetooth audio and AC and heated seats. And it's just cute and it's fun and it's comfortable and it's manual, so that's fun because I go back to a manual. And it's just a lot of fun, actually, and it's really cute, and it just invites a lot of sympathy from everyone who drives it or sees it. And it's quite nice. And more importantly, as you can see in the video, it's done maybe 5 liters per 100 kilometer every time I've driven it. And that's good. That's really good, especially compared to the 15 or 18 of the Vel Satis that I did when I was in Paris or in the city. So yeah, it's a really good car. I'm glad I sold the Vel Satis because that was becoming a bit of a headache, even though I loved it. And I you know, I wish I could have kept it. If I was a millionaire, I would have probably kept it. I'm not a millionaire, so I needed to get rid of it. I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I did to get this Up. And, you know, who knows what my next car will be. I think I'll keep this one no matter what until it breaks down eventually. And maybe the next one will be electric, but I change my mind all the time. And in the meantime, this is perfect. It's everything I need and more on some occasions. And it's plenty comfortable enough. It's plenty spacious enough for everything we have to do around the house and every trip to the recycling plant that we have to do and so on. So I really like it. And also, something I haven't mentioned in the video, the headlights are amazing on this Up. And around here is a lot of really tiny roads, a lot of wildlife, and a lot of roads that are unlit. And so you really need good headlights. The Vel Satis lights were amazing. The Yaris were terrible. And this one has really, really good lights. So anyway, I'm getting lost here, but this is why I sold the Vel Satis. Fuel consumption, unreliability, mainly. The size was something I expected anyway, so I didn't sell it for the size, although it was definitely a factor when choosing this one. And that's why I sold the Vel Satis, and I don't regret it for a second, although I do miss it from time to time. Now let's show you the engine. So to get to the engine, obviously it's the same as in most cars. So you got a little handle here. It is quite well integrated, to be honest, better than in some Renaults I've been in. And then you have the little thing here right next to the badge, and there we go. I'm not going to bother putting on the thing, but it is right here. And there's the engine. So it is tiny. It's a 1-liter engine. It's got 75 horsepower. It is incredibly dirty because I've been driving in some mud and I haven't had a chance to clean it yet. But there it is. And let me close it again. And let me show you the rest of the car with the engine turned on. I did change the little DRLs for, they're not LEDs, but they're like really, really white bulbs. So they work quite well. I think they make it look a bit more modern. I also switched out the reversing lights, which were just incredibly dim, and then I switched out the license plate light for an LED as well because it makes the whole car look more modern. So this is my new car, the new Volkswagen Up. Well, new to me at least, and it's a really nice car, and I look forward to spending years with it because I don't think I'm going to sell it. I think this will be our only car for a few months, and then maybe a second car for the rest of the year, but well, for the rest of the years that we spend with it. But we are going to need another car, so this is a perfect second car. And to be honest, right now it is a pretty perfect only car because we've driven, as I said, around what is it, maybe almost 20,000 kilometers with it since September, and it's so comfortable and it's so nice to drive in, and we have a lot of fun with it, and it's quite nice and it's quite fun to drive, and it's fun to have a manual again. So there it is. That's the Volkswagen Up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.